Welcome back. This video is looking at learning about more sophisticated kinds of time signature. Note, the content of this video is going to be a bit trickier than a lot of the other videos you're going to see this term. If you're finding the content tricky, please pause and rewind the video, check in your workbook where there's some more guidance, look up resources online, and of course, ask your teacher. We are going to master this concept. It is important for us to learn, but it might take us a bit longer than some of our other videos. So, with that in mind, let's go. Last week, we learned about these two kinds of time signature. This one is telling us to count 4 crotchets in a bar, with the 4 on top telling us we are counting 4, and the 4 on the bottom telling us we're counting crotchets. This time signature is telling us we are counting 2 minims in a bar, with the 2 on top telling us we're counting 2, and the number on the bottom telling us we're counting minims. We call these simple time signatures because we can divide the beat neatly into groups of 2. In 4/4 time, we can divide each crotchet up into 2 quavers, and in 2/2 time, we can divide each minim up into 2 crotchets. Another way of putting it is in 4/4 time, we have 2 quavers to every beat, and it sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whereas in 2/2 time, we have 4 quavers to every beat. 1, 2. This begs the question, can we have a time signature that's in between, that has 3 quavers to every beat? Well, of course, we can, and we call it a compound time signature. All that means is that the time signature has 3 quavers to each beat. This is how we would write what I was just playing. We show that we're in a compound time signature by grouping our quavers into 3s, like this. And here I've shown where the beat is just by adding arrows, though normally we wouldn't bother having those. The time signature for this little passage of music would be 6/8. So the 8 tells us we're counting quavers, and the 6 tells us there are 6 of them. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 quavers. However, whereas in other time signatures, that means we would be counting like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Not all of those quavers actually have the beat. So we have to remember that we have a beat every 3 quavers, like this. 1, 2. It's what makes these time signatures a little bit more confusing than other kinds of time signature. So the question is, if we have a beat every 3 quavers, what note has the beat? In other words, thinking back to our earlier introduction, which note is between a crotchet and a minim? Well, the answer is a dotted crotchet. So the dotted crotchet has the beat in compound time signatures, because a dotted crotchet lasts for 3 quavers. So 6/8 is one example of a compound time signature, but of course there are others. We can have 9/8, where we'd simply add another group of 3, and it would sound like this: 1, 2, 3. We can also have 3/8, where we only have 1 beat in every bar. 1, 1, 1, 1. So those are our most common kinds of compound time signature, where there are 3 quavers to each beat. How do we know we are in one of these time signatures? Well, first we see if the quavers are grouped in 3s. In this example, our quavers are all grouped in 3s, so we know that we are in a compound time signature immediately. Then we simply count up the quavers in the bar, and this gives you your top number. So if the quavers are grouped together in 3s, we must be over 8, and you then just have to count up the quavers in the bar to give you your top number. It's that simple, really. So here's a worked example. What time signature would this bar be in? This bar, which sounds like this. Well, first of all, we have a group of 3. That means it must have an 8 at the bottom because it must be a compound time signature. Then we count them up. There are 6 quavers in this bar because 1 crotchet is the same as 2 quavers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have a 6 at the top and an 8 at the bottom, which gives us 6/8 time. Now, what time signature is this bar in? Have a think. So first of all, we have quavers that are grouped together in threes. This tells us immediately that we are in a compound time signature with an 8 at the bottom. Then all we need to do is work out how many quavers there are. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we have a dotted crotchet, which is worth 3. This gives us a total of 9. So we have a 9 at the top and an 8 at the bottom, which gives us 9/8 time. Okay, new question. Where should the bar lines go in this section of music? Have a think. So, in 3/8 time, we have 3 quavers in every bar. So all we have to do is go through, and every 3 quavers, we put in a bar line. So we have 1, 2, 3 quavers here. So we'd want to have a bar line down here. We then have a crotchet, which is worth 2 quavers, and a quaver, which is worth 1. 2 plus 1 is 3, so we'd want to have another one here. And then this dotted crotchet lasts for 3 quavers in total, so we'd want to have another bar line just after it. So we have bar lines here, here, and here. And finally, a listening exercise. I'm going to play a short rhythm, and you have to identify whether this rhythm is in 6/8, 9/8, or 3/4. Listen to how it's grouped. I'm going to make the beats as obvious as I can. Have a think. Okay, let's listen again. One more time. The answer is, it is in 9/8 time. We can work this out, first of all, by listing if there are any groups of 3, which I think there clearly are. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So we know it's going to be a compound time signature, so it must be over 8. So it's over 6/8 or 9/8. And then it's just a case of counting in our heads how long it is. In this case, we have 3 dotted crotchet beats, so it must be in 9/8. 1, 2, 3. And that takes us to the end of compound time signatures. A quick recap. A simple time signature divides the beat into 2s. A compound time signature divides the beat into 3s. Time signatures over 8 tell you to 1, count the quavers, but 2, that the beat is in dotted crotchets. So there is 1 beat every 3 quavers. To work out a compound time signature, you need to first check if the quavers are in groups of 3, and if they are, count the number of quavers in the bar to get your top number. With all of that in mind, turn to activity 2 in your workbook, and then look at the independent work at the end, which will help you get to grips with this slightly trickier concept.